WCIA 3 News.
They're getting some help cracking down on crime. Why some say numbers could be the key to stopping it.
You soon won't have to go far to get a taste of Chicago, who gave people a sneak peek today.
You're watching your local news leader. This is WCIA 3 News at 5 in high definition.
My son had looked up to him, and he mentored him sometime.
The Mahomet Seymour community is mourning the death of a high school student. Good evening. I'm Aaron Bennett.
And I'm Jennifer Roscoe. He was killed in a car crash in yesterday's dust storm in Douglas County. 16-year-old Jacob Hamilton played for the Mahomet Seymour soccer team. It's tonight's top story. There is a baseball game going on right now, and they kicked it off with a moment of silence. Hamilton's brother Bradley plays on the team and is playing tonight. Hamilton was killed during the dust storm last night. Officials say he couldn't see after a dust cloud crossed over Route 636. They say he couldn't stop his vehicle in enough time to avoid a collision. Family friends say their children are glad to have known Hamilton, and he will be greatly missed.
Alec, last night, I was hugging him, and he told me, he said, I'm so glad I hugged him when I saw him in the hall today. Because you know those boys, they usually high-five, but sometimes they hug.
Nearly 1,000 people gathered last night for a vigil. There were also counselors available for students and faculty at the high school today. Two other 17-year-olds were hurt in the accident. We're told by police they were taken to the hospital for minor injuries. And the Mahomet Seymour soccer team dealt with the loss last year as well. 18-year-old Matthew Prather died in March. He died of natural causes from a pre-existing condition. Prather also played basketball and football for the Bulldogs. Police have released the name of another man who was killed in a dust storm near New Berlin. Police say James Brunson died after driving into the back of a semi. He was pronounced dead at the scene. Two others are in the hospital with minor injuries. A third car was involved. Police say he didn't slow down.
I've never seen anything like that, dust that thick. But if you're driving on the interstate, you come up to a situation like that, the first thing you have to do is slow down. I think that was the big problem, people not slowing down enough.
State police made 20 accident reports yesterday. They say if you drive in a dust storm, act as if it's snow. The crash is still under investigation.
Students and staff in Hoopeston are heartbroken today after the death of a teacher. Brian Hodge was also the athletic director at Hoopeston Area High School and Middle School. He was well known by many in the community, specifically for helping kids who were struggling. Staff and students were having a hard time dealing with their emotions today and even brought in a comfort dog to help. People across the community are remembering Hodge for all that he did.
He had a huge impact on the community. He was well liked by everyone. Everyone knew him. He done his job great. But like I said, all the students and the faculty at the school loved Hodge.
Students are remembering Hodge by changing their Facebook profile pictures to their mascot and the words #HodgeStrong. Well, it'll be a while before Amtrak routes are back to normal. This is the third day the St. Louis to Chicago route has been down because of a train derailment late Monday night. Tracks will not be fully repaired until next week. Amtrak officials say they expect trains to be up and running on Tuesday. For now, buses will continue to be provided at Lincoln for those traveling south.
Lawmakers were back to take another stab at some bills in the grand bargain deal, but things didn't go according to plan. WCIA 3's Emily Fannin live in Springfield. Emily, honestly, I don't know when they do go according to plan there in Springfield. So there was supposed to be a vote on workers' comp reform. What happened?
Jennifer, Democrats say they received some proposals from the governor changing the language of the workers' comp bill. Now, Republicans continue to say that they need more time and that they're just not quite there yet. Now, yesterday, the Senate President Cullerton said workers' comp would be the first issue to be picked back up today. But after a budget meeting this morning, that plan changed. Session was brief and senators held more meetings this afternoon. Democrats say their patience is wearing thin and will continue to sit at the table. However, some say they might need to consider a backup plan.
But we're going to have to start working on an alternative because we're concerned that they're never going to get to yes. I mean, we've been bending over backwards helping them get to yes, and yet they're not, I don't think, joining hands with us.
Lawmakers will be back tomorrow morning, but for how much they will get done, senators that I talked to say session will be brief tomorrow. So it's not likely that we'll see any bills being called in the grand bargain until next week. Live outside the Capitol, Emily Fannin, WCIA 3, your local news leader. Jennifer.
Thanks so much, Emily. Now, on the bright side, lawmakers say they are pleased with the progress they made last night. They passed several parts of the grand bargain, like pension reform, gambling expansion, a bill to pay down the state's debt, and a revamped school funding formula. And that formula could mean a change for schools 20 years in the making. It hasn't been modified in 2 decades. This plan has been in the works for 2 years. But the Rauner administration says this isn't what they agreed on. The governor's office issued a statement, quote, Senator Menard abandoned our bipartisan process. He disagrees.
Likes to claim that he's for many things, but I think at the end of the day, the governor doesn't want us to move forward on these things. I think he believes that this gridlock is somehow benefiting him politically.
Formula Chicago Public Schools will continue to get about $200 million through a relief fund and pension funding. Secretary of Education Beth Purvis says it's a bailout for the school district and unfair to other districts. The bill will now go to the House and then off to the governor's desk.
Well, lawmakers on Capitol Hill are expressing some relief to see a special prosecutor is now leading an investigation into Russian connections. But President Trump isn't as enthused. Mola Lengi has more in national news.
At a news conference with the leader of Colombia, President Trump faced questions about the appointment of a special counsel to investigate possible ties between his associates and Russia.
Well, I respect the move, but the entire thing has been a witch hunt, and there is no collusion between certainly myself and my campaign.
Senator, the president says this is just a witch hunt.
Well, I don't think that's appropriate. I would advise him to stop. The process is going to go forward.
On Capitol Hill, lawmakers praised the man chosen to lead the investigation, former FBI Director Robert Mueller.
Like a breath of fresh air has come into this week-long saga in that I think he is someone that has support on both sides of the aisle.
Though not all Republican lawmakers believe the appointment of a special counsel was necessary, there is consensus here that Mueller can be both independent and effective.
The whole point is to have an independent investigation and follow the facts wherever they may lead. It is premature to prejudge anything at this point.
Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein decided a special counsel was needed and appointed Mueller. Rosenstein spent the afternoon in a closed-door session with senators explaining the events that led up to President Trump firing FBI Director James Comey last week. Separate congressional probes into the possible Russian connection will continue, with lawmakers eager to hear from Comey himself, though that may now be in jeopardy as it's unclear whether it would interfere with Mueller's investigation. Mola Lengi for CBS News, Capitol Hill.
Now, President Trump continues to interview candidates for the new FBI director position and says he is close to a decision. He also confirmed Senator Joe Lieberman is one of the top candidates.
One town could be adding a new place for campers. Why this one would be easier on your wallet. And 2 cities are trying to find a way to fight crime, and they may have an answer who they're turning to for help.